INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
I was like, I want to write scripts. And there's a line that I'm so glad they took out of that fucking movie where the
Are we going to cut this?
No, the
Okay.
Patricia Arquette character says to the Christian Slater character, she goes, I'd eat the peanuts out of your shit. And I was just like, I get it. You want to let everyone know they're white trash, but let's class it up just a little bit.
That's really awful.
I do remember in the script.
And then there's a scene, and it's German, in the German version, where she actually does.
Oh no.
She actually does. And check it out. The character Clarence, played by Christian Slater, had eaten 3 Snickers.
I don't think that was in the script.
Tarantino's a sick freak. He's a goddamn sick freak.
You know, John Leguizamo is a freak. You know that?
Oh, yeah, true.
And Chris Angel is a mind freak.
He is.
Mind freak. One time I had long black hair, and I dyed my hair black. It was like the only time I ever really dyed my hair, and I had long hair. And I was walking down a hallway in Las Vegas, and these 2 jocks walked by me and waited till they get all the way to the end of a really long hallway, and they go, "Fucking mind freak back there." And I was like, never again. Let's go watch this out. Let's go watch this out right now.
The show Supernatural, which lasted 15 seasons.
Yeah.
You know, there's an episode called Chris Angel is a douchebag, and he's not in it, and he was not asked if that could be the name of the episode. They just called it that. It's about Las Vegas magicians.
Wow.
And he was livid, apparently.
What are you drinking? Hold on.
It's satire.
Mike has a small barrel that he is sucking liquid refreshment from.
I have the exact same barrel at home.
What?
It's gin.
Well, okay.
I really
It's a flagon of gin.
So let's do the intro here, because I think the audience might be like, well, Brian sounds different this week. Welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with...
I'm Mike Wiebe, and this week we've got special guest host, film historian and raconteur, and former Postmaster General, fired for... Well, we'll let him get into that. Ladies and gentlemen, Zack Carlson.
Woo!
Yay!
Hey, Zach.
Yay. It's a news show, so there's really normally not clapter. This is straight news.
No frills.
No frills. No pills. No $1,000 bills. You know what I'm saying?
So we are recording this. I let Zach in on the secret earlier. We are recording this on my birthday. So so the gift to me was that Brian didn't show up.
Got your ass, Brian.
Damn.
Got your ass.
So
well, happy birthday, Kevin. I'll say it. I mean, I guess I'll begrudgingly say it. Happy birthday.
Oh, well, thank you.
Here's my first gift to you.
Oh, first.
It's just take a look at this cute dog.
Did you get a new dog?
No,
Whose dog is that?
This is Mary Claire. I'm dog sitting for Avery and Jackson, and
your comedy partner.
My comedy partner and her life partner, and this dog. Describe this dog. Looks sort of English, maybe like an old English man.
Looks real silky.
It looks
real
like
soft.
It fell off the dog from Fraggle Rock, as it looks like.
Yeah, it's very very Fraggle Rockish. A little Splinter from Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and
Mike's getting dog kisses.
The breath is intense. I can smell the breath right now.
Yeah.
Has there ever been good dog breath?
Yeah. Oh, puppy breath is fucking
really.
Puppy breath. They should bottle it and sell it.
Wow.
My friend had a dog whose breath, he was like, teenage dog, but it smelled exactly like the water from Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which is not called Pirates of the Caribbean because you don't talk about the Caribbean islands.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like everyone smelled the dog's breath, went, that smells familiar. You'd say it's the Pirates ride from Disneyland, and they'd be like, oh my god, it's like it was exactly that smell.
Was it fake blue?
Yeah, it's like a touch of chlorine, a touch of like ancient.
Yeah. I mean, that ride's been going since the 60s, so it's real weird. And then you get to a part and you see Johnny Depp there, and you're like, hey, get out of here. You know what, though? In Johnny, like, there's much to be... Johnny Depp contains multitudes. We can't forget that we liked things that he did in the past. But, like, he used to apparently one time roll down to Disney, dressed up like Jack Sparrow, got into the ride, and would just sit there in complete stillness, like in the middle of Pirates of the Caribbean, and then at some point just go like, hey, everybody. Or not like, oh, I'm Jack Sparrow, or whatever the fuck he sounded like then. I was like, that's kind of fun, you know?
Yeah.
Do that character before he got real sad and whatever he is doing now.
Right.
Did you see the apology about the dogs that he did with Amber Heard together?
What?
No.
Yeah, what is this?
They secretly smuggled some dogs into Australia.
Oh yeah.
And then they were forced by the government of Australia to make an online apology about how that's not the right thing to do. And the way that they spoke during that apology was one of the most inhuman, bizarre things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm sure they were not sorry for that at all. I'm sure they were really just like.
But
I mean, I wouldn't be if you told me I couldn't take my dog to Australia. I'd go, fucking. You know who said I can do it? The Lord Humongous. He fucking rules the wasteland.
Dog fetishist Lord Humongous said I could do it, so it's fine.
It's fine.
But have we talked about how important Lord Humongous is?
I mean, we've talked about how. No, I don't think we have actually.
No.
As friends, have we talked about this?
I don't think we have.
But he's like a sexy punk Jason Voorhees. Like what's it cool?
Yeah, he is. Right. He is very. I mean, that's a weird thing that I always thought about in that movie of like Lord Humongous, like throw out the gasoline that's so difficult to find. Where is he finding creatine and a perfectly protein balanced diet in order to be that goddamn ripped all the time?
Yeah.
You know, I brought my friend on the 5 o'clock news in Austin in a full Lord Humongous outfit, including like the leather jockstrap.
Really?
So everyone watching the 5 o'clock news like saw me. I was wearing a hot dog T-shirt. It was like, like, Joey's Hot Dogs, like New Jersey.
Zach's also Zach. Let me plug another one of your expertise. You're a hot dog expert.
I do really.
That's a bummer that Brian's not here. We'd love to get you guys talking hot dogs. We'll have you back.
I mean, it would turn into its own podcast.
Yeah.
But
hot dog talk.
I looked like a hot dog hobo, and then I'm next to like the Lord Humongous. And the thing is, Ryan was they asked him a question. He had everything pre-recorded from the movie, so I could ask the question and just hear him go, "Just walk away." He had all like programmed, they could have button. He never spoke, but it was all the audio came through, and he just acted all out. You know.
Walk away.
So if anybody's confused, we're talking about the film Mad Max, but also in I'm sorry, we're talking about the film The Road Warrior, but also known in Australia as Mad Max Part 2.
And then I remember I saw Mad Max Fury Road. No, Zach told me you'd seen Mad Max Fury Road, like an early screening, and I was like, how was it? And you're like, I fucking hated it. And I was like, oh no. And I was doing this podcast with this young gal that.
Wait, you do podcasts other than ours?
This was many. The movie came out a long fucking time ago.
I guess I'll allow it.
And I said that I was like, I ran into Zack Carlson, and he said he didn't like it. And she got so mad. She hadn't even seen it yet. She got like fucking furious. Was like, well, he's not even supposed to be talking about it. And I was just like, I think you need to calm down. And yeah. And I like that movie quite a bit, but also it's like that thing too, like, yeah, other people can like not like the things that you like. Like it's fine. Like it's really, which is, I mean, I guess that's the problem. That's kind of like the reason the internet exists, is people to be angry that somebody else deigned to admonish Zack Snyder's work or whatever. But also just that thing too of like, I also don't live my life to get on and talk shit about movies that I don't like. Cause it's just like, well,
I mean, you've done that on our podcast 40 or 50 different times.
I don't say anything negative about any other films except for directors and actors who are enemies with me in the industry.
I see.
Also, again, I want to say this fucking writer strike's still going on, and I stand with the studios. I don't fucking care. We need more Jack Wharton films. That's what people want. People are getting bummed out. This summer, this is the first summer to not have a Jack Wharton film in 17 years.
So this week, we have a special guest film scholar, Zack Carlson.
I already introduced him, but
whatever. I just have it. It's written down in the script here. You don't want me to read my script.
You don't get credit just because you say it too. I mean, technically, I win because I said it first.
Oh, I see. Okay, Mike wins with special film scholar guest Zack Carlson, but will nevertheless have two weird film-related stories for him. And hopefully what I like to do, Zach, is when we have somebody with special expertise, I see if I can't stump them with my stories.
Oh, please. I love stumps.
So far, I'm batting 100.
Well, it means he tells you a story so awful you want to cut off your own foot.
Either one. Like. Ideally, both. So this story comes to us from Starlog number 24, from July 1979.
Well, so at least we're current.
Yeah. But we did a body snatcher story from the 1890s.
Yeah, but it's still ripped out of the headlines.
Well, this is ripped from the headlines.
The next story is from Gore Zone.
I've got every issue of Gore Zone, so I should be able to keep up with that one.
Let's see. So you guys will never believe this, but back in 1990, I was kind of a nerd. My favorite writer was H.P. Lovecraft, and my favorite movie was Reanimator. Anyway, there I was. H.P. Lovecraft and Reanimator.
No, Zach said that's him now.
Oh, okay. Well,
is that what you said? Sorry.
Yes. So anyway, I was.
Well, hold on. You're going to ask me what my favorite movie is now?
What was your favorite movie in 1990?
The Killing Fields.
Wow, bold.
Either Killing Fields or Emmanuel 3, Joys of a Woman.
Both by Joseph Wamba.
Yeah, both equally erotic. I've never seen The Killing Fields, I'll be honest with you.
I think my mom took me to see that in the theater, at a discount theater.
Pretty good.
My mom took me to see Emmanuel Joys of a Woman in the theater.
18 times.
Wow. Zach, what was your favorite movie in 1990?
Oh, same favorite movie as now. No joke. It's Penelope Spheeris' Suburbia. Not the Parker Posey Suburbia.
Nice.
Not that one's Giovanni Ribisi, but people, they never listen. They always think that I mean that one.
Really?
Always.
In the circles that I run in, you would never be ever be confused for that, because I don't think that Suburbia, that Linklater one, did Richard Bogosian write that?
Yeah, Eric Bogosian.
Eric Bogosian.
Yeah, it's a movie about people in their teens, played by people in their 20s, written by
like a 50-year-old,
and written by a guy in his 40s.
Yeah. And that the most unrealistic the most unrealistic portrayal of like what a successful musician does or would be like, or it just all.
It actually has the line, "What are we doing in this mosh pit of consumerism?" when they're at a McDonald's.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's like I'm looking in a mirror of my 90s life. So let's see. So anyway, there I was at a comic book convention, and I'm playing Axis and Allies with some guys I had just met, and we're chatting about H.P. Lovecraft, and this guy tells me, and he says it in exactly this voice, "You ever hear what happened when they tried to film the Call of Cthulhu?" So what he told me is they filmed the movie, and then at the worst test screening in history, the movie was so traumatizing that 4 people had to be institutionalized, and 2 had never been released.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, because I was now very excited to see this movie, he told me that the movie was locked in a vault and that it would never be released. He wasn't the only one telling this story either. I asked around, and it had drifted around comic book and sci-fi conventions since at least 1985. So here I am. I'm going to set the record straight on the Call of Cthulhu movie. And I want to point out...
Are you sure you're not confusing Call of Cthulhu with The Day the Clown Cried?
No, I might be confusing with Emmanuel 3, though.
No, The Day the Clown Cried, which is locked in a vault.
Right.
It's the
Jerry
Lewis movie.
Yeah.
But apparently it's like about to be public domain or something like that. Zach, can you verify? Is there any veracity in this? Film scholar to the stars.
478. So if it wasn't renewed, or maybe his company was dissolved, to the right to be in question, then the copyright could lapse.
It's supposed to be 25 years after his death. It becomes viewable.
Well, he's only been dead 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. And Harry Shearer has seen it in its entirety. He's one of like 4 people that's seen the movie.
Why did Jerry Lewis's face get so weird and big and
puffy?
Yeah,
puffy.
He was addicted to the painkillers he got addicted to after his suicide attempt in the 70s.
Oh wow!
Oh, why did he try to kill himself?
He was totally miserable, and he used the excuse of like that he was in physical pain, like how Chevy Chase was addicted to painkillers.
Yeah.
But Jerry Lewis was just like kind of trying to die because he couldn't find joy in anything. He got like, what's that thing, that condition called when you can't feel joy? It's
called being married. Got your ass.
It sounds
That's
like
my new catchphrase, Zach, is "got your ass" when I really stick it to somebody real good.
See, can you fit that into 7 characters on a license plate?
I think so.
GTYOASS.
Yeah.
Then it can also be "get your ass." Like that's like a it's aggressive. But yeah. Anyway, so he got and I think he tried to kill himself again while he looked like that, and one of his kids found him. He was like on the bathroom floor, like passed out.
Was it Gary Lewis of Gary Lewis and the Pacemakers? Playboys.
Yeah, Gary Lewis and Playboys. Who was with the Pacemakers?
I think there's just the Pacemakers, and then Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Oh,
Jerry
okay.
And the Pacemakers.
Yeah.
Okay.
What, man? All those old comics were so really fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't they all still?
Yeah. Well.
No. I'm normal. But like Johnny Carson was like supposedly just like this shell of a human being when he was not on stage. Like not a shell in that, like, but he like nobody knew him. Like it was a weird thing where he got married like 20 times and he like had no real friends at all. He was like kind of friendly with like Bob Newhart and a couple other people, but like he just wasn't, just apparently just kind of a thing where like the people that were closest to him were like, yeah, but I kind of never really knew him, even though I was his closest friend and stuff like that.
That's like Robert De Niro until Trump, took the throne. Like Robert De Niro apparently has a very water-like personality, he invested his entire life into these characters and didn't have room for himself. Yeah. And everyone always said that about him until Trump took office. And then you guys saw interviews with De Niro during the Trump presidency.
Yeah, he was. I want to just go punch him in his stupid head. Punch him.
Yeah, he gets like super mad. He'd be like,
yeah,
that fucking clown, that fucking thief, low life. Like, like he would turn into a De Niro character because of his anger.
Wow,
it was so nice to see anyone that was white and old get mad about Trump.
It was. It brought me joy to watch those moments.
It felt so invaders from Mars in those Trump, for me. And I mean, I've talked about it a lot on here, but I had like a really intense situation with some of my family about that stuff that I didn't even bring it up. Like it was kind of like brought to me, and it was just this weird thing of like, what the fuck is happening to the minds of these people? And then whenever anybody's just kind of like, well, they all fucking suck the same, I'm like, yeah, they do all suck, but not quite the same, you know? Like
very special.
There's a level of emblazoned racism that just gets a little too white hot for me with one of those guys. Even though everything is shitty and it's like, the fucking fake status quo and blah blah blah, but there's not the virulent, I don't know. But you know what? I don't know much about politics. I'm a fucking song and dance man.
That's true. Why don't you show us that?
Okay, well.
Oh yeah, do a little tap, little modern.
You're like the next Michael. You're like the white Michael Flatley.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Irish, so that's pretty dead on. Carlson, now, is that an Irish last name?
I'm Nordic.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty white. I'm a my.
That's all white.
I don't know who my real father is, though. So
yeah, I don't
probably
either.
Probably Bill Cosby statistically for my age.
Well, yeah, odds are good.
Yeah. How do you feel? Hold on. How do you feel about bacon burger dogs?
I mean, what kind of human being?
Let me ask you this: would you eat a bacon burger dog even though you knew it was going to give you a nightmare?
Ooh,
of course.
You might be related. You might have.
So back to Starlog and 1979's Call of Cthulhu movie. You can find the article from the Starlog 24 online. If you track it down, it has some cool pictures of models for the monsters. But first off,
like Cindy Crawford,
like
Cheryl Teagues,
like Yog Sothoth.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
I'm a fan.
So first off, the movie was actually called The Cry of Cthulhu, and it wasn't so much an adaptation of Lovecraft as it was an original story about Cthulhu, the Great Old Ones, and the Elder Gods. The director attached to it was named Wolfgang Glades, who is mostly known as the assistant director for Cabaret and Fletch, and the producer of Fire in the Sky and The Ninth Gate. The plot involved a man and woman inheriting a house in Germany next to a World War II battlefield where lots of soldiers were killed, and it had something to do with all these deaths opening a portal to bring Cthulhu and the Great Old Ones to Earth. Despite this, the entire thing was supposed to be shot in Detroit. The producers were able to raise $7 million in funding, which is equal to the budget for 1979's Rocky II, and it's about $30 million today. The special effects were supposed to be stop motion, and the special effects department included people who went on to work on The Terminator, John Carpenter's The Thing, The Dark Crystal, Poltergeist, and even the guy who designed and animated The Book of the Dead and The Evil Dead and The Evil Dead 2. Unfortunately, according to the film's writer, they ran out of money before they got to production, and the whole thing fell apart. It's not all bad news, though. In 2016, the author adapted the screenplay into a novel and released The Cry of Cthulhu, as well as 3 more sequels, and they're all available for sale online.
A movie got turned into a book. That sounds like bad news to me. What's the only thing that could be worse is if it got turned into a play.
Well, I read the adaptation, the movie, the novelization of Star Wars when I was a young lad and quite enjoyed it.
Really?
What's it about?
It's have you seen Star Wars?
Yeah.
It's about this young up and comer who learns to believe in himself and fight with laser swords thanks to an old man.
Sounds like Boogie Nights.
Kinda. Yeah. Less cocaine in Boogie Nights.
Yeah. I think that's accurate. Actually, probably.
That scene in the donut shop in that movie is very disturbing.
It's supposed
to be cute, kind of, but it's very upsetting.
Yeah, that movie is I think he's great and all, but that movie just stands way above the other ones because for me it's just like I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, I'm dumb and I just like to have fun in movies, and there's so much fun. Like, not that it's just like, it's fun the whole way, because there's a lot of dark shit, but there's also like so much fun to be had along with the dark shit. And well, I guess I'm I'm interested in the golden age of pornography. But
I think what you're saying is you like things you don't have to think about too much.
No, I like titties and bush, and I like bush.
But no, like, Paul Thomas Anderson movies are a struggle, like intentionally.
Hey, fuck that guy. That's what I'm gonna say.
Wait a minute. Wait. What's going on here? Let's talk about this.
Okay.
So I think I like him a lot. Like
I
think
like him a lot too, but I'm just saying.
Guy.
I'm just saying. There's definitely like, this is gonna take some work.
No, I'm gonna say fuck that guy. He sucks.
There's that part, like the Phantom Thread. Like, why would a human being write that movie? It's like, I'm an 1800s clothing designer who feels nauseous. That's the plot of that movie, right?
Right.
But there's even in that movie, which is his most grown up, sophisticated movie. There's a part where Daniel Day-Lewis, his girlfriend says, "Would you like some soup?" And he goes, "I am a hungry boy." And like, that's like a weird thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
I love that movie. I think that movie's that's maybe my I don't know, maybe my second favorite one.
I like Magnolia. I'm all about it.
Magnolia's good. I like There Will Be Blood. Mm-hmm. There Will Be Blood has such the most bonkers ending.
Yeah.
That still works. Like, it's not like you made a mistake, but like, I never would have seen that from the rest of the movie. I never would have seen that ending coming. And it's kind of funny, and it's
a great pun. The "I'm finished" thing's such a good joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's sort of, but then like that Incoherent Vice or whatever movie. That's no good. So
yeah, it's not very good.
I can't take that guy's
fuck
acting.
That guy.
Hey, Mike, I sent you the picture of me on the 5 o'clock news.
That is amazing.
With the Lord Humongous. This was on like Austin on television. That was like a CBS affiliate.
We should point out
put that on the social media.
Yeah, we have. Can we put that
just in the comments? This will
be. We should point out too that Zach and I we've had years of getting mistaken or compared to looking like each other.
Yeah, like I'm the ugly Mike Wiebe is what my.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. The
better smelling, uglier Mike Wiebe.
Listen. I'm not. I'm happy with the way you look. I'm happy with the way I look. I'll just say that. But that's a self thing.
I see. Hey,
you definitely have better teeth than me.
Hey, I'm not comfortable with the way I look, but I'm comfortable with the way you guys look.
About fucking time.
So let me ask you guys this: what is your favorite Lovecraft story, and what is your favorite Lovecraft movie?
I love that question.
Go ahead, Zach. Gentlemen Before Germs.
He wrote the story that was the closest thing to a novel that he ever wrote, but it still was like, not quite long enough. Yeah, Strange Case of Charles Dexter Ward.
It's a good one. Yeah,
it's so good, and it's got all these weird little asides like that. Don't really. They could each be their own Lovecraft story, but like he just kind of throws them out there like a pretzel stick and then runs away.
Yeah.
And that story has this thing where like he's talking about how you can make new beings out of the essential salts of humans.
Right.
And it's like one night they heard a strange screaming, and in the morning they found a 10-foot tall man with no eyes, ears, or mouth laying cold and naked face down in the river. Like dead,
Yeah.
And like that was it. And that's like a little side thing. It just happens one morning.
Well,
and just like
one of the jars of salts just says B Franklin and B, the letter B dot Franklin. And it's like, wait, you resurrected Benjamin Franklin to get his secrets?
Yeah. And then he like died like like headless, like wandering through like a dark valley at night, I mean, like, there's so many ideas in that story. It's just crazy.
Well, my understanding is that was never even submitted for publication. He just wrote a draft, and they found it in his drawer after he died.
Oh, really? So that was his Confederacy of Dunces?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That story, that whole story is so good because it's just like so many new thoughts in there.
Yeah.
I need to read that. I don't know if I ever have. I have a lot of collections of him, but I'm sure it's in one of those, but
there are some versions that are better than others. I know that like the original manuscript was edited down in a lot of the collections. So if you go to, I think it's hplovecraft.com, he's got the most correct versions of everything.
Well, it came out, I think like Bantam put it out as its own paperback, and they were like desperate to have a novel by him, so they used the longest version of it. So it's basically like that's the best one you can get. That's the least King James version of it you can get, because like, you know, they wanted the padded version, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but and then my favorite Lovecraft adaptation, Police Academy 6, City Under Siege.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah.
Adaptation, the horror at Martin's Beach.
Because Citizens on Patrol was Edgar Allan Poe adaptation.
And then August
Citizens on Patrol.
Was that 2?
That was 4.
3.
Oh, 4. Okay.
Yeah.
4.
Citizens on Patrol.
Yeah. And
it's starring the Bones Brigade.
That was Miami Beach. That's part 5. It's Assignment Miami Beach with David Spade and the Bones Brigade.
Yeah. I thought they were Citizens on Patrol.
I think it's part 5 that they're in. And then part 7 is Mush in Moscow. It only has one good joke, but it's an amazing joke where you know, Punky Brewster's dad, George Gaines, Commandant Lassard, and a Russian premier throw an egg back and forth from their lips at a dinner table, and it goes on like way longer than you think it will.
Well, it is crazy how the first one started as this TNA kind of Porky's. It was Porky's, but Police Academy meets Porky's, or like, and then from there on, it got you know, there's a cartoon at some point.
Let's talk about R-rated movies that became children's properties, like Toxic Crusaders.
Yeah, Toxic Crusaders,
which is originally Toxic Avenger, right?
Right. And
Rambo.
Rambo.
RoboCop
had toys.
Yeah.
I remember the Rambo cartoon was insane because there's an episode where he falls off the top of the Statue of Liberty, which is like, how far of a drop is that, right? That's like 100 feet at least.
Yeah, something like that.
And it cuts to a commercial. He's like, oh, and he falls off. And it cuts to commercial. And then when it comes back, he just goes like this. And he just runs.
He lands on his feet.
Yeah. He like lands at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty and he just goes, and then he starts running.
He also, they had like, it was so lame. I remember thinking this was lame when I was a kid too. Being excited that there was a Rambo cartoon and then immediately not liking it after like 2 episodes. But they would run through sort of like He-Man doing his Sword of Power, where they had this animation sequence that they drew and animated once, and they used it every episode. But the one they used every episode was Rambo tying his shoes and putting on a headband. And I guess, I don't know, taking off his shirt. I don't know, like putting on like sweatbands on his forearms or something.
Did he tie his hat? His like head? He just go like this. He would just take this thing and put it in front and use this rubber glove. He just go in front and then go. And it was just done.
Yeah,
it was just on. Yeah, he never. There was no folding.
He spent more time making sure there were no creases as he pulled it back than he actually did tying it.
You're right. He did.
There's got to be some more, you know. I mean, Ghostbusters, not R-rated, but there is, you know, a ghost blowjob scene in it, and
that's why I don't like Ray. That's why Ray's not up there for me with Winston.
Well, supposedly that's his wife.
That ghost is not played by Donna Dixon.
Not his real wife, but in Ray, like the backstory is Ray Stantz had a wife that died several years ago. And apparently like that really kind of, he was like always into this stuff, but then he like kind of, you know, really gets into that. And that's why he's also like never horny or anything compared to like anybody else in that movie. Like
Egon's not. Winston's not.
Winston is fucking.
Yeah, but he's not horny. He's satisfied.
I think he's married. I think it's implied that he's married, right?
Is it?
I don't know.
I never really got that, but I'll take it.
Why wasn't he on the poster, by the way?
It's, I mean, apparently, like he had, well, originally that part was Eddie Murphy's. That was Eddie Murphy's part, and there was, you know, and it was, you know, really the movie was 4 characters that were basically getting the same amount of screen time and things together. And then when Eddie Murphy didn't do it, like his part got real diminished, and then they still, and I think, like, you know, from when Ernie Hudson read the script and what he actually ended up shooting, he was super bummed out at, like, man, I was one of the main characters in this movie. And I think they'd even kind of rewritten it to be like less funny, less in Eddie Murphy's voice or whatever. But and still in the movie, he is the guy that kind of delivers some big stuff, but it's just it's not enough. Like, you can't introduce this character and then do that little with him. I mean, that being said, I don't know how much of it is nostalgia, because you can't discount, like, seeing a movie like that at that age and not realize, you know, I realize that my eyes will never be completely clear as to that movie, you know, like,
You're
it's
okay. That's fair.
It was too important to me as a kid to like really ever kind of wrap my head around it. But yeah, it is a bummer. Definitely watching it now, it's like, I want more of him. I want more of everybody, really. You know, it's like, I wish the movie was, because it always kind of bummed me out later on too, that it goes from, we catch our first ghost, montage, the ending. There's like the montage of them doing stuff where it's like, I was like, I want to know more about the world and stuff, which which doesn't make sense for that I mean, this is all like little kid thoughts about like, I don't know. I wanted to be a Ghostbuster, but now I've found out that there's a lot of TV shows, and it turns out ghosts are just really, really fucking boring. They're the most boring things. At best, they can go, I'm here.
You know,
no.
Oh, go ahead.
So my big question about this was, as a child, then, did you believe that busting made you feel good?
Man, I believed that it would, and then when I finally did get to bust, I like busting.
All right.
I started a ghost busting group with my friends, because my friend Michael, his property shared, like, you know, the actual property line with a retirement home, and we're like, that's like a ghost factory, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, so we set up all of this, like, surveillance equipment. I was in charge of inventions. I was basically the Egon.
Nice.
We were called Spectre spotters. And
I had a pilot for a TV show called Spectre Inspectors.
That's pretty good.
That we pitched, and nobody. Well, we didn't really pitch it hard enough. I think it's a great idea still to this day.
So
poor man's patent. Nobody can steal my name, Spectre Inspectors. That's illegal.
Work like that.
No, it is. Did you know, Zach? Did you know that if you have an idea and you say "poor man's patent" 3 times out loud, it makes it
not true.
It is true.
I thought you said "poor man's patent" like Mike Patton from.
Oh.
I've been accused of being that.
Yeah, Mike Patton.
So one question. So one question before we move on, because this just came up.
I didn't get to answer what mine.
Okay, well, this is my question: is Ghostbusters a Lovecraft movie? Like, is it Lovecraftian? Could it exist without H.P. Lovecraft? I don't know that it could.
The concept of Zool, I think, would not have existed without Lovecraft, because he lives in the dream world between our world and that one, right? Which is like a huge thing for him.
Yeah,
right.
Like the dream quest of unknown Kadath and all that shit.
Right.
And then like that's like seems to be where Zool occupies that space. You know who was originally playing Zool, right? Pee Wee Herman in Pee Wee Herman's outfit.
That's right. I forgot. I did know that. That would have been great.
Yeah. Like, it was going to be him as Pee Wee Herman, but they're going to use the same voice as the movie. So it'd be like Pee Wee Herman going, "Choose the form of your destroyer." Like that.
Wow. That was done without effects. I want to let everybody know.
Weird.
So you see Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget.
You know, there's like there's a handful of deleted scenes you can see, and one is so bizarre. It's like, I don't know why you would think about like, it's kind of funny, but like it's when Rick Moranis is running through the park. Like, he's just been possessed. He's running through the park, and it's Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray as hobos. They're not their characters. They're just these hobos, and they're walking through the park, and they're talking about basically talking but telling two different stories to each other, and neither one's really listening to each other. And like, in Dan Aykroyd's voice is like, when you're dealing with a power puncher like Chuck Wepner, and he's like talking about boxing, and I can't remember what Bill Murray's talking about, something about like retirement plans or something. And then like Rick Moranis runs into him and just keeps going, and they're like, hey, what is that? But it was such like just a weird, like, I wonder where the idea came from. That is that like a Bob Hope thing or something? Did they do that, or who? What movies?
I don't
know.
The Bob Hope thing, like in the Ghost Breakers, they have the joke where Bob Hope and Bing Crosby see something so horrible that they can't even like speak. They're like, oh,
yeah.
Ghost, and they run away, and then it's just Martin and Lewis that they saw.
Oh wow!
So this is like a version of that, but then them doing it themselves, which isn't going to work.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite Lovecraft?
Boy.
Zach, did you do movie or did you just do story? I don't remember.
I said Police Academy 6 because I was
okay.
stalling.
Okay. Mike, what are your favorite?
Well, do you have a real one, Zach?
Lovecraft? Oh yeah.
I mean, gosh, I guess so this is a really nerdy answer, but like there was this moment with straight to video horror stuff was happening in the mid 80s where Japanese filmmakers that couldn't get a movie out or finance would make just like a 40-minute long feature that was just gross. And like it wouldn't have any English. You get a hold of the Japanese VHS tape and it would just be like body horror weirdness that made no sense.
Okay.
And there's one that's called Biohazard. And it's totally just like some Cronenberg / Lovecraft, like, like fartery.
I remember the poster, but I never saw it.
Yeah, it's a doctor. The poster is a doctor with glowing eyes being like, it's like really fun, and it's stupid, and it's just great. And so I'd say like Biohazard would be my favorite like Lovecraft inspired thing on the movie. But like because Reanimator's so far removed, it's like doesn't even.
Yeah, Reanimator's like that's. So I'll start with my movie. I want to say Reanimator because it is probably the best movie that has Lovecraft in the title, but it's not very Lovecrafty because like there's too much comedy in it.
The story's not really that Lovecrafty, to be honest. Like
I am going to. It's got to be a toss up between From Beyond,
good one,
and Dagon,
also a good one.
But I think From Beyond. I think it's got to be From Beyond because that one leaves you with too much like it. I don't know. They're both really good. There's somewhere in the middle. They're trying for different things. The final shot in Dagon was pretty great. Of like him swimming through the weird giant thing.
But the monster in Dagon is so bad. The CGI part is so rough.
Yeah, that's the problem. The CGI is so bad. And as far as the story, this is, some people say this is the least representative of H.P. Lovecraft because it kind of takes place in a different area, and he even kind of writes it more dumbed down, I guess, because it's about farm people. Is The Color from Space, which I didn't like. Color Out of Space. I don't love the movie that much, but I really like that story quite a bit.
No, it's my favorite story as well. It's
really
great.
Like
what's
spooky and weird, and
it's like
every the Karloff version.
The what?
I have seen that too. Yeah,
Karloff version, the Die Monster Die. It's that story, and they do some weird stuff in that, like really weird effects.
But I mean, you got to think of like I can't wrap my mind around Lovecraft kind of summarizing both the reality and the fears around nuclear fallout before there was even an atomic bomb.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, just all that ash and like what it does to people as they just sort of melt away.
Yeah, it's like syphilis almost, but you know, faster and bigger, like the way that it kind of makes them like they're super self-assured and they're like mounting insanity. But
that said, like I kind of think, and I don't know if this was direct or not, but I kind of have always felt like Quatermass in the Pit was a direct adaptation of that.
That is great. That's a great answer. You know, that is the best Lovecraftian movie. You're right. That movie has so many ideas in it. Also, like it's just like it's unbelievable.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I recommend springing for the Blu-ray and watching Quatermass in the Pit because it is worth your money.
And you don't need to see the first two Quatermass movies. They're all totally independent of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. You know the first one, which is just like about the sloppy melting astronaut?
I've never seen the other ones, to be honest. I've only seen this one, which I saw as 5 million years to Earth.
Right. It's just Incredible Melting Man, but like way less melting.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, but there's a part where the astronauts like opens the curtain, you see him, and he's kind of like, you know, like sloppy skin, and it killed a kid in Indiana. It's the only movie known to have killed somebody with fright.
Wow.
Ever in real life. And it's like some 8-year-old kid in Indiana was watching it, and the astronaut goes and like looks out behind the curtain, and this little kid in the theater just went, ah, and just died.
Wow. Call of Cthulhu only made people insane.
Yeah.
I remember a kid told me that he knew somebody that listened to there's a band called Cryptic Slaughter, and that he listened to a Cryptic Slaughter cassette, and then he went insane. And then he said that he listened to Cryptic Slaughter, and he said it didn't make him feel that weird, but then he put on headphones, and it started to make him go insane.
Whoa.
He had to take it off, yeah. So I've still never listened to Cryptic Slaughter, because that shit scares the shit out of me.
Let's see, I listen to them, and I'm insane. But I really quick, I want to throw something, just to tie up this Ghostbusters thing. I was being polite earlier. No more. Never again. So Ernie Hudson was like, you know, he was hired because they couldn't get Eddie Murphy. But then when they did the cartoon of Real Ghostbusters, they brought in to do the voice of Winston Arsenio Hall, who's at the height of his fame.
Oh, wow.
Do the voice of Winston. Arsenio Hall, who's like probably 8 times more famous than Ernie Hudson at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To do the voice of Winston, why not have Ernie Hudson do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's weird. And
at a time, too, when, you know, now a lot of stars will jump and do voiceovers because it's the easiest thing you can do on the face of the planet. You know, especially if you're a big star, you can have a studio and you do it from your house in your underwear. But back then, it was kind of like not cool to do that. Like it wasn't unless you were Robin Williams in like a big name Disney film. It was not cool to do voiceover, to be known for doing voiceovers. Very, very weird.
The character Winston got a lot more screen time on the cartoon, probably because they knew that they had Arsenio Hall doing it. So they gave Winston like major storylines. Like whenever the Sandman came around, it was always versus the Sandman. You know, like always.
Yeah.
And, wait, have I done I can do a perfect Sandman impression from the Real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Oh, okay. Let's
take that when you guys are older, if you want. Or now, your choice.
No, we want to hear it now.
Yeah.
So you go, like they get that weird, like his voice is all like, everybody sleep. Like that, okay. Sound. I don't even know what that was supposed to be. And then Winston would just be like, he wouldn't sleep. Like Winston, for some reason, could like, you know, just avoid whatever it was from the Sandman that made everybody else fall asleep. He could just like withstand it. And then there's a crazy thing where Lorenzo Music did the voice of Peter Venkman, then Garfield.
Right.
Then when he died, to do the voice of Garfield in the movie, Bill Murray came in to cover for the guy who did the voice of him on the Real Ghostbusters.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just kind of had a voice like this.
He kind of talked like this. Hey, guys. Yeah, remember when like Garfield started a year after Real Ghostbusters, and they're like, "Yo, that is Peter Venkman's voice." Like, this is
it was both delightful and confusing as a kid.
Yeah. I remember the Real Ghostbusters. Like as the seasons went on, it almost got better and better, and they really started to expand the universe, and they started like storylines that would go further than episodic.
Yeah,
and there was a really fun one with the. I just remember like what a clever idea is. They get trapped in limbo and you're just falling forever, but then you get used to falling, and they're in there for some reason. A whole bunch of chickens got locked in there too, and they're just like constantly falling with chickens to where like at first they were like then at some point they're just kind of like bored and like floating around and talking to each other because they've just been falling for so long.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey used that joke like almost exactly the same way, but not as well. And also the Cthulhu episode of Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I was gonna say
the Collect Call of Cthulhu, I think.
Yeah.
It's super good. Like really good and really true to the mythology. Like shockingly.
Wow.
Like, yeah, super strong.
So let's move on. We've been doing this for 50 minutes. Let's move on to our second story.
You wanted the best, you got the fucking best.
We did get it. I appreciate that you finally got us a good guest, Michael. So our next story comes to us from a blog called Book Tryst.
Hmm?
And we'll just, so you guys know who Val Lewton was, right?
Yes.
Who was Val Lewton?
The cat people.
Mike, who is Val Lewton?
Huh? You did a show called Cat Penises. No,
So-
Val Lewton. He was like the atmospheric horror guy. I mean, Cat People's the most famous one.
Right.
I don't know that I know a ton of his other stuff, but occasionally it comes up, and I'm like, oh, that's a Val Lewton movie.
Yeah. So and I would say like a few of his like later movies that weren't as well remembered kind of feed into like I think they would be really successful today because I can't remember the name of the one now, but there's like one that's all about Satanists and conspiracies and secret societies and
I think you're thinking of the actual U.S. government, Kevin.
Isn't that the black cat? Also with the word cat in it?
It's not the Black Cat. Maybe I'll look it up later.
You're
But-
thinking of Black Hat, the Michael
Black
Mann,
Hat.
Chris Hemsworth hacker movie. He's a black hat hacker.
Or Fear of a Black Hat.
Fear of a black hat hacker.
Rusty
Yeah.
Cundiff, I believe, directed that.
Yeah, that I actually really like. I really like Fear of a Black Hat.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Snoop
So-
Froggy Frog.
Val Lewton is best remembered as the producer of RKO horror films such as Cat People, Curse of the Cat People, I Walked with a Zombie, which is really, really good, and The Body Snatcher. But what most people don't know is that he was also a pornographer. Specifically, in 1933, he wrote an 80,000-word erotic novel titled 3 Times a Woman, Grushenka. The book also included 7 full-page filthy illustrations, which, if you guys behave, I will show you later.
Wait, how many? Do you say how many pages or words?
80,000 words.
Only 7 drawings.
I have no idea if that's a lot or a little. I really
that's
have
a
no
decent
idea.
amount. I would
many-
say it's probably about, like, realistically, like 250, 300 pages.
That's
How
not
many
bad.
Harry Potters is that?
One Harry
Uh,
Potter.
Yeah, one.
Is that a
one-
Bible? How
it's
long's a
between one
Bible?
and that's over.
That's my
like
favorite
a million
book.
words. Or
That's
something.
my second favorite book.
I
Zach.
figured he would have counted the words by now.
You know, this is my second favorite. You don't know what my favorite book is, Zach?
Tell me.
The Constitution.
This is longer than the Constitution.
And has more dirty pictures.
Well,
Yeah.
the Constitution is very concise, is why it's one
I
of the
see.
reasons I fucking love the Constitution, dude. I fucking love it. I fucking love every single. I like the font. I'm trying to get my Kia Soul. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get it wrapped in the Constitution. You know, have it like written on all the sides and stuff.
And have your license plate be the Constitution.
yeah, real small in there.
Yeah.
So Grushenka claimed to be, quote, the story of a Russian surf girl compiled from contemporary documents in the Russian police files and private archives of Russian libraries. According to the Amazon page, the plot of Grushenka is, quote, used as a toy by her masters. Grushenka rebels and is sent to the torture chambers where she is subjected to whipping and other punishments in an effort to break her spirit. But Grushenka is 3 times a woman and escapes to emerge triumphant with power over the nobility when she joins Russia's most famous brothel. When
What's
the
that?
book,
A Russian surf girl, like she's wipeout.
she says, she's, like a valley girl. She says, gag me with a spoon.
Where does you can't surf in Russia? Which
Why
is
not?
one of
What
the
about on the
reasons why
Black
they're
Sea?
so angry all the time.
Oh, okay.
It's a sea. You can't surf on a sea.
What? You can that doesn't make any sense.
Wipeout. That's what happens if you try and surf on the Black Sea.
That's for that.
It's
that's
also
for
too
that.
dark. You can't see anything.
Well, that's fair.
I guess
So-
I've never seen footage of a Russian surfing ever. I can't think of a single example.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that there's any Russian
Germans-
surfers.
Well, at the beginning of Top Secret, you see
Mm-hmm.
surfing, and then you see Germany.
Well,
And
there's,
that's not-
there's Surf Nazis Must Die,
Which is great.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is great.
Nice. I haven't actually seen it. I went to watch it once, and it would only play on Tubi in Spanish.
Why don't you like Spanish?
Yeah.
I don't speak Spanish. That was the problem, wasn't it?
Now who's the Nazi? Now who's the Nazi?
My Latina girlfriend teaches me Spanish all the time.
Well, I do.
It doesn't work. It doesn't stick. Why don't you respect her?
So when the book was released, pretty much everything about it was a lie. It was supposedly translated by an anonymous source, but the manuscript was found among Val Lewton's papers, and no one has seen anything it was translated from, which heavily suggests it was an original work. It also reads like an original work. It was also claimed to have been published in France in a limited edition of 150, but it was actually published by a New York actor and poet named Percy Shostak in a much larger release. The book was controversial in its days, and Lewton's notes say that he had a photo of the NYPD shoveling a copy of Grushenka into the police furnace. Apparently, Lewton wrote the book to help ride out the Great Depression, but later that year he got a job writing for MGM's publicity office in New York City. By 1939, he was an uncredited writer on Gone with the Wind, and by 1942, he began producing some of the best horror movies ever made. Grushenka is available on the internet, but it takes some searching to find it. So I'm going to have Mike read a few choice passages for our listeners.
Okay. What can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
Though? What was the name of the producer that put it out, or the?
He was the producer.
Percy something.
Oh, Percy Shostak.
Oh, Percy Shostak. I'd love to put this out. It sounds.
I'd love to put out your
sounds ribald. Okay, I'm gonna read. Okay. I'm gonna read this passage.
Okay.
Fumbling around with the buttons, the girls opened up their breeches and took out his instrument. It did not look too enticing to Grushenka. It was red, half stiff, and of a flabby fullness. "Kiss me," said the gentleman to the other girl, "and put your tongue nicely into my mouth." He then kissed her mouth, sucking it and gluing his mouth so hard to hers that she became breathless and red in the face. That's crazy that it just took I would have thought that pulling the dick out would have made. Okay. Here's another one. Grushenka suffered hard under each pinch as if fire burned her buttocks. Between pinches, the girl reached through Grushenka's legs and pulled the hair of her Venus hill, not very hard, but hard enough to make her groan aloud. Meanwhile, Grushenka had the feeling that she had to pass water, but she was afraid to do so over the customer's hand. Madame Brenna over the customer's hand. Madame Brenna's whip would have been the consequence. Okay, so in that scenario,
I'm fanning myself here.
Hold on, let me think about this. Somebody's pinching her, a girl's pinching her, and then she reaches through her legs and pulls the hair of her Venus hill.
Right.
Which I assume is her...
It's her shoulders.
Yeah, her shoulders. Her shoulder hair.
I was going to say beaver.
That's gross.
Her beeve.
Can't believe you would lower this podcast like that.
Then Grushenka's like, shit, I got to take a piss. And then she's like, I can't do so, or I'm gonna get my hand whipped. Okay, so here's the last passage.
Okay.
He moved forward, got a hold of her loins, and glancing down, approached her with the tip of his shaft. Grushenka reached for his love instrument, but he shouted for her to take her hand away. He then began to press himself against her back entrance. Serge was a rear door lover by conviction and inclination. First of all, he did not want his girls to become pregnant. Good thinking. Furthermore, he found the back entrance smaller and tighter. Finally, he did not want to give the girls a thrill. He liked to have all the pleasure himself and to spin his instrument as long as possible without the help of his partner. Thus, the head of Serge Shaft now engaged in a struggle to enter Grushenka's small back entrance. He pressed, screwed, and pushed. I don't know.
Mike's got a big frown on his face.
Well, when we get to this passage, we're not really I question how Grushenka is taking this.
Right.
Is Grushenka such a taut lover that she can even enjoy the forbidden zones of
we do have a photo
the Planet of the Apes?
We do have a photo of this. Let me see if I can. Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on a second.
A photo of what?
We have a photo of Serg and Grushenka here, or not a photo, but an illustration. Let's see if I can.
I demand a photo.
Is it? Here it is. Okay, so as you can see here, it says an erotic venture new to him.
New to him?
Wow.
That's not true, though.
Yeah, that's his predilection. They've already.
It's true.
They all had hard breasts with white or brown skin, rosy or dark nipples. He had his choice. He got up, felt them, tickled them, weighed their full flesh in his hands and pinched them. They wiggled a bit and jiggled, but were uneasy. Naturally, he decided on Grushenka. She had the finest of them all, milk white, full but pointed with rather large rosy berries. He told her to go put on her finest dress, a skirt and blouse, but no shirt underneath. Grushenka hurried off to do so. I want to read this.
Well, I can send you the link. I worry about posting this to social media because I don't know if I'll get in trouble, but I'll send you the link and you can Google it pretty easily.
I don't want to. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh wow. This is kind of hot though.
Yeah.
But it also looks like it was traced from a photo.
Yeah.
I'm
rotoscoping.
Yeah.
kind of impressed by the artwork in this. It looks like KYUQ.
I will say too, like a lot of times ladies these gals have like bodies
How upset
of
this woman
women
is
now, like,
Yeah.
like they're not like they look like beauty standards of now.
Oh my God! Wait, especially that
God
second from the
damn.
right.
He began to enjoy the job is the title of this photo.
Look how surprised he is! Look how surprised he is by his penis.
Yeah, I would be fucking happy with that.
That guy kind of looks like Charles Bronson.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, let's double check that. There you go.
Oh shit! Zach has
wow.
a Charles Bronson tattoo, and we can confirm it is Charles Bronson.
It looks a lot like him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there ever any photographic evidence of how big Charles
Ooh.
Bronson's hog was?
No, but he talks about it in The White Buffalo. There's a great line.
Yeah.
Where oh my God, that page is insane.
Oh my God.
The title here is Firm and Deep, Up and Down Movements.
I thought it said moments. I was so into that.
The International News Service Film Society, that is not a public thing, actually watched White Buffalo a couple months ago, or maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that line. What did he say? He's like, "One of you girls dosed me proper."
Oh yeah, because he's got
been on a high horse in a long time. One of you girls dosed me proper.
Yeah, one of you girls dosed me proper.
Yeah, that's. I guess any venereal disease back then, they didn't have a treatment for any of them, really. So once you got them, you had them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still kind of true for a lot of them.
That's true. I misbuttoned my shirt for you.
Careful, we're getting a little steamy over here.
This is an After Dark episode of
It is.
International News Service.
Something you guys mentioned earlier reminded me of the actress Jenny Wright, who she was like the lady in Near Dark, the blonde girl who's like really like a cute kind of like punkish.
Yeah.
And she was giving an interview with the LA Weekly after Near Dark came out, and then that movie Out of Bounds with Anthony Michael Hall.
Mm-hmm.
She was the co-lead in that. And they're like, "Oh, who's this up and coming young actress?" And they said, "So like, what's coming up in the future?" They asked her, and she thought that they meant like for her society, for like humanity.
Oh, wow.
And so she answered from that, because it turns out she had a very unusual brain, but nobody knew that because they just said like, "Oh, she's pretty." She's a good actor.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, in the future, everything will be painted black, and the only language spoken will be Spanish because it is the international language, and sex will be illegal because it is an unclean thing." That's what she said. That's her answer.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, in like a regular interview.
Wow.
And
she was correct.
Yeah.
True.
So whenever somebody reads like dirty stuff, I always think about Jenny Wright saying, "Sex will be illegal. It's an unclean thing." It's like it's so good.
Well, we're working on. I mean, in Texas, we are actively working on it.
It's true.
Yeah, well, that is true. So, what is your favorite type, or what is your favorite piece of erotic literature?
Me?
Yeah, both of you.
Hop on Pop.
That's a
very good.
Taboo subject matter.
Hey, no one talks about it. It means it doesn't happen.
Or maybe erotic fiction. How's that? Or
yeah, that's true.
Expand it.
Fiction.
Yeah, because Hop on Pop is a true story. So I'm with Jenny Wright on this one. I don't like eroticism. I like neurotic fiction. That's more.
Well, I think public eroticism makes me neurotic.
I gotta be honest. I don't know that I've ever actually read any like legit, other than like Penthouse forums and stuff like that.
Like the Emmanuel movies, for example. So erotic fiction.
I thought you said literature.
Yeah, I did, but I expanded it.
Oh well, movies. Yeah, no, I like the first 3 Emmanuel movies. I think are really great.
Nice.
With what's her name? Why am I spacing on her name? Sylvia Crystal.
Yeah,
Sylvia Crystal. Yeah.
Did you ever see The Dragon Lives Again, the Bruce Lee knockoff movie? We talked about this?
No.
It starts with Bruce Lee wakes up in hell after his death.
Oh yeah.
And he's played by Bruce Leung, who's the villain in Kung Fu Hustle years later.
Yeah.
The Frogman villain. And he allies with Popeye and the Man with No Name, played by a Chinese guy, not Clint Eastwood. And they go and fight Satan, Dracula, and Emmanuel, who have teamed up.
Oh
wow.
Yeah. It's like that's the movie, seriously.
I have a guilty pleasure of Two Moon Junction.
Oh wow.
Which is Richard Tyson and the Sherilyn Fenn.
Oh, okay.
And I definitely have a soft spot for that movie. I guess hard spot, if you really want. Hard spot. My penis is the spot that gets hard.
That's just melanoma.
Well, I do sunbathe my perineum, and I do not use suntan oil. Oh man, that's a good question, because I don't. Because again, there's like weird nostalgia stuff of stuff that I saw when I was a kid that was like wowie zowie. But yeah, I gotta say, Emmanuel. There's I think I can't remember if it's Roger Corman's or somebody else did a Fanny Hill that I liked a whole lot. I think because I think it's not the Roger Corman one, which I've never seen, but there's like with this actress named Lisa Raines that was kind of seminal to my seminal vesicles.
How come Benny Hill never did a Fanny Hill? That would have been.
Yeah, that's
weird. They didn't do that.
That is weird.
So do you read Candide, Voltaire's Candide?
Yeah.
There's a great sex scene where Candide gets to the island and these women are naked and they're being chased by chimpanzees that are biting their buttocks, and like the monkeys are just nipping at the girls' butts and the women are screaming. So Candide takes out a gun and shoots the monkeys to save the girls. And the girls go, oh, "Our boyfriends!" And like that's my favorite erotic passage.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really funny. That book's really funny. No one knows that. Everything thinks it's going to be boring. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's one that I've never read any like classic erotica. It's
all the sex parts are like that in the whole book. There's so many jokes about butts, but or there's these like beautiful older women, but they don't have butts at all because they had to cut off their buttocks to feed the soldiers that were defending them during the war. And they would their butts as steaks.
How else are they going to eat?
Talk about eating ass, but this is ridiculous.
It's true. And the most respected translation of that story in America was by a guy named John Butt. It's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is wild.
It's like, 50 Shades of Butt is Candide. It's true.
Wow. We sure have gotten sexy tonight.
Oh yeah, that's why people tune in. They tune in for the sexy.
Yeah, but yeah,
now,
go ahead. Chimpanzee sex, chimpanzee boyfriends. I'm just saying.
Now I do have to ask: were you aware, as a film scholar and historian, of either of these tales?
What do you mean?
Were you familiar with Val Lewton, pornographer, or the Cry of Cthulhu?
I guess I wasn't. I did. So Cry of Cthulhu, you were making any of that up? It all really was in Starlog? It all really happened?
Yeah,
almost?
no, it's a neat article. Like, I had heard about it. I asked, I'd heard of all this stuff, and I was like, well, I got to see this movie. I don't know how. And I asked, I was maybe 15 when I heard about it. And then 16 or 17, I ran into horror artist Stephen Bissett, who had drawn Swamp Thing and then published Taboo, published the comic book Tyrant that I think there's only 3 or 4 issues of, just a body of like amazing work that nobody outside of the Swamp Thing stuff really knows about. But I was so I asked him about it, and he told me, oh no, they never made that movie, but it's in Starlog. They had some models from it, and you should read that issue. And it just kind of stayed in the back of my head for the last, again, it's my birthday, so let's say 36 years. And when I had to think up, when I had to think up a film story, I was like, I wonder whatever happened with that, or if that urban legend still even is around about this movie that made people insane. And turns out everybody forgot about it but me.
Are there any movies that you know of that are out there like that, Zach, that no one's ever seen before besides The Day the Clown Cried?
There's tons. There's going to be a lot of those movies that are going to be simultaneously made available very soon.
Oh, wow.
In an interesting way.
Now, are they good, or is it like that, every once in a while some movie will come out that it's like, oh, well, we shot this. It'll be like Deathbed, where they shot it like 40 years ago, and then it comes out, and we all make fun of it, but it's not actually very good.
Yeah, the one like that broke my heart was Metal Messiah by Tibor Tikacs, who's the guy who directed The Gate.
Okay.
The great adolescent horror movie from 87.
Yeah.
Like, he had made this crazy movie that was like this like post-apocalyptic like cybernetic Jesus movie called Metal Messiah. And I wanted to see it so bad, and I finally got a hold of it, and it was just boo. It was so rotten. And
not that I felt that way about The Other Side of the Wind. Not that I thought that it was going to be great, because I was like, there's a reason why this hasn't come out till now. But the Other Side of the Wind was just like, what is happening?
It was what I like to think of as spaghetti, because it's just all of these strands thrown together that don't really tie up in any way.
Maybe I was too dumb to get it. That was my other thought too, which is I like to freely admit that sometimes I'm not smart enough, or I'm not willing to pretend that I want to find a deeper meaning in something that is. I do have a theory that sometimes people just make weird for weird's sake and think that they can do a little song and dance and go like, oh, it's so weird, only the smarts understand it, and that there's a bunch of people that are like, I'm smart, so I understand it, and that
me in my 20s,
it's a bunch of emperors without clothes.
Yeah, very true. No, it's like anything. There's great lost movies, and like movies weren't lost because of their quality, right? Like, Wildman Steve, he was like a black comedian.
Oh yeah.
His second movie, because I love his first movie, which is like the $6 Million Man parody.
Okay, I didn't know he made movies. I mostly know Rudy Ray Moore. Like, I like Rudy Ray Moore's movies quite a bit.
Yeah, because he's in Petey Wheatstraw. He's one of the bad guys.
Yeah,
him and Leroy Scola. But he made a movie where he gets bionic powers, and it's really entertaining. and they're given to him by a dwarf named Dr. Dippy. But anyway, but he made a second movie called Ain't That Just Like a Honky? And you can find the LP soundtrack, you can find the poster, but the movie's just like nowhere. It just doesn't go on, you know? There's an amazing scene. This in the first movie, which is called the $6,000 N word.
Yeah.
There's a great scene where he talks about something that brings him great comfort, and it seems very personal and very honest. It's that his mother used to wash his butt, and his whole life he's wanted to find a woman who will wash his butt the way his mother did. And that scene gets really intense and like really personal. He's telling this woman that. It's great.
You know,
I just want to find my mother.
It's funny that you mentioned that because like 2 years ago on this very program, Mike had a catchphrase that was "wash your ass."
Oh yeah, that was a good catchphrase. You need to wash your ass. Now it's "I got your ass." It's really, the podcast has really evolved quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find it. Oh wait, before I do that, Zach, where can people get a hold of you, find you, follow you?
Oh, don't do that.
Okay, don't look for Zach anywhere.
No, but we should plug some of Zach's excellent books.
Oh, nice. Yes, we should do that.
Most recently, I was invited to write the biography of the great filmmaker Ray Dennis Steckler.
Oh, nice.
Who, had a box set come out from Severn Films, and they did Blu-rays of all of his non-porn films and several of his porn movies as well. And it comes with a 100-page biography that was written by me and a guy named Charles Devlin, who was kind enough to cover all of Steckler's porn because that stuff depresses me. So I didn't write about that. So I wrote about all the non-porn stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Charles wrote all the porn stuff. He's a really good writer, actually. The guy's great. So we collaborated.
I'm excited to get it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. What else you got coming out?
I am working very, very gradually on the second edition of Destroy All Movies, which is our guide to punks on film.
Nice.
So we wrote a book about it. It came out 14 years ago.
Yeah.
That was all interviews with filmmakers, musicians, actors, and also basically every time a punk shows up in a movie, even if they're in the background of a crowd scene for 1 second, we tried to write about every movie in the 20th century with a punk in it.
Star Trek 4?
Oh yeah, we interviewed him.
Yeah,
he's great.
That guy is great. He
runs Jim Henson's studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was a writer on Mystery Science Theater recently too.
Oh,
in
really?
Recent years, yeah.
I'm excited for I bought a copy of that book 2 years ago, and it was very expensive because it was so out of print. But I was researching stuff for Dracula's, and there's a lot of inspiration of punk stuff in that era, and I really wanted to kind of capture some looks. So I spent a lot of dough on a bad copy of that book.
Why is it a bad copy? Beat up?
It's just beat up, yeah. But I'm glad I have it. It was because it was a thing. I don't think I ever had. I had a roommate that had it, and it was a thing that I always wanted. And then I'm very easy to justify spending money if it's for a project of some sort. And I was well, I have to have this. If I don't have this, then it's what are we doing?
Right. There's so many good fake punk bands from movies. Just show up, in Girls Just Want to Have Fun, when that band they break into the country club and dancing with a turkey on their foot and all that.
It's not quite punk, but it kind of is. But I find that in a movie that I don't particularly like that much, but the songs of Sex Bob-omb in Scott Pilgrim, I think, are fucking great. I think that band is. I wish they did a whole record of that band. I think Beck wrote those songs, but it's Beck trying to pretend like he's in a punk band. I don't even think he sings on it, but he might. But they only do 4 or 5 songs, and they're fucking awesome.
Yeah,
they sound
I have
really
somewhere.
They and I don't know if this is the case, but in the movie, I mean, obviously they're not really playing what's recorded there, but the singers, it's a bass player and the singer's playing an acoustic guitar, but it's running through pedals, and it sounds like that might be the case because there's this real fuzzed out kind of there's a real weird tone to the guitars.
As far as fake punk bands that I love, I think the Misfits on the Gem cartoon are a great band.
Yeah, they were good.
The songs are really good.
That was really confusing to me as like a 12-year-old when I found out there was another band called the Misfits and that they were all guys, and people were like, I listen to the Misfits, and it's like, you want to laugh and be like, what, from Gem? But then you don't, you know it. Then 30 seconds later, you're glad you didn't do that because you found out that this is a real band and they're tough guys.
Isn't it weird? The Gem ones weren't called like the Miss, like unmarried women, MISS fits, and that would have been like workaround. That would have been totally fine, but they didn't even do that. It's so weird. But their songs are so much better than Gem songs. Like Gem songs are so lame. Like Richard Marx.
Yeah, Gem sucks.
Yeah,
which is accurate. That's how it would probably play out in our planet.
Shittier. But Misfit songs are really good. Like they're like a legit thing. So
that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. Our listeners already know this, but remember, INS is your best source for sleazy adult novels. Check out the INS merch store at Redbubble. And normally I say don't forget to check out our subreddit, but Reddit's doing this weird thing, and maybe just avoid Reddit for now. Find out about it on your local social media news source.
College newspaper. Write an article about us for your college newspaper.
For the Bumblebee Gazette. And we'll see you next week.
Read about us in Penthouse Forum.
Thank you for listening to the International News Service. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. INS, the news you need.